Hi, welcome. This is Jeremy Murphy. Thank you for joining us on this inaugural show of our Blab series based on the book 3 Feet from Gold by Greg Reid and Sharon Lechter.
And to those of you know or may not know about me, my name is Ha Tran. I'm a motivational speaker, a published author, and a navigational coach.
And I am Jeremy Murphy. I am a health coach, running coach, and positivity coach, also creator of the Positivity Patrol. So before we get started with the show content, we do have a little bit of housekeeping. We've got a notice that I need to read into the record. And we do want to thank the cooperation of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. We did ask for their consent because with any book or intellectual property, if it says all rights reserved, you have to ask for the people that own the rights to the book for permission. So we asked for permission. They gave us consent. And so here is the notice that they asked us to provide as part of the show and to refer people to the foundation website as well. So, but this is what the notice says. 3 Feet from Gold is used with the consent of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. However, the foundation has no control over and does not endorse the Blab IM platform or content. To learn more about the Napoleon Hill Foundation, go to or please see naphill.org, NAPHILL.org. We'll take you to the Napoleon Hill Foundation, tell you all about their activities, their books, their other activities around the world. They're doing wonderful work, so check them out, please. Thank you.
See, as an avid reader, I read a lot of books. However, when I stumbled over this book, that is 3 Feet from Gold, and I was so excited about the concept, and especially it coming from the support of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. So I shared with Jeremy, and when he read it, then he resonated with that as well. So we decided to, because it's just a mirror of our own life, because every one of us, we have a moment that we get tossed in the tower because we said enough is enough, and we quit too soon, and we don't know how far or how close we are to our destinations. And Jeremy agreed with me, and so here we are.
Yes, I was fascinated with this book, and I read many books like Ha does, and when she told me about this book, I became much more interested in it and moved it to the top of my reading list. And when I read it and just understood the unique power and success formula that's contained in here, it really provides a roadmap and a pathway for success for all of us. And I think sometimes we find that certain things may be missing from that formula for success, but I think this book goes through them topically very well and in a logical fashion. And I think it's something that all of us can implement.
Yeah, and then we agree that after we have a long conversation, and Jeremy and we thought that we are going to do this series because what we want to do is our purpose is to help you to succeed. And when we're talking about helping you, we're also helping ourselves because to those of us know that in order we want to learn, we want to teach. Is that how the sentence sounds? But that we want to bring it to you because we want to help you to succeed.
Right. And I think success, we can think that we can succeed on our own. And I think I've become powerfully aware that success is not possible at the same level on an individual basis as it is if we work in some cooperation with others. And I think this book incorporates that pretty well and gives some examples. So I just, if you haven't read this book, go get it. Check it out from the library. Buy it. Probably better to buy it because you're going to turn to it from time to time when things go wrong. We all need books like this on the shelves to help us really figure out what happened and kind of unravel where we are and figure out how to put the pieces of the puzzle of life back together.
Yeah, and then and again, I think that we should own a copy of this one because you can dog ear it and you can write it, you can
Sure.
make note of it. Because when you read a book, you read a book, but when you start to take action with the pen and the thing, the highlight and the dog ear, you usually get more than that. So that's what I'm so excited about, and we also make the commitment to do it every week. Correct, Jeremy? We do every
Yes.
Tuesday, every Wednesday at 1 p.m.
Right.
Eastern
Yes. We decided to make it a weekly blab and break up the shows into 1 or 2 chapters at a time. And there might be a couple weeks where it makes sense to have 2 chapters together, and others, if there's a lot of substance, we want to maybe allow those chapters to stand alone. And with this being the first week of the show, we wanted to just start with chapter 1 to kind of do some background, make sure we took care of housekeeping, and finally get to the content of chapter 1.
Okay, so before we go on into the book, let me talking about the 2 most remarkable authors, and let me talk about Sharon L. Lechter. She is a business and member of the President Advisory Council on Financial Literacy. Was a co-author of international bestseller Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and the 14 in the Rich Dad series. More than 27 million Rich Dad books have been sold in over 50 languages and over 100 countries. Now, founder and the CEO of Pay Your Family First, I love this, LLC, Lecter, worked with the Napoleon Hill Foundation to develop material to teach Napoleon Hill's principle to families, women, and young people. She also served on a national board of Child Health and Women President Organization and speaks internationally as an advocate for financial literacy.
Okay, that's a wonderful biography. And to provide you more background on Greg Reid, I'm going to read you a brief bio on Greg, let you know who he is. Greg Reid is a motivational speaker, author, entrepreneur, and the CEO of several successful corporations. His prior books include The Millionaire Mentor from 2003 and Positive Impact, co-authored with Charlie Tremendous Jones. In addition, he is co-founder of Personal Development Magazine, and his writing has appeared in more than 30 books. Reid has been featured on local and nationally syndicated programs across the country. He speaks frequently at corporations, universities, and charitable organizations.
Okay, then we're talking about the authors of the book, and we talk about the book itself. And let me tell you, the image of the books, it really, I love it. And especially when I read the cover, it said, 3 feet from goal, turn your obstacles into opportunities. And just like the music in my ears. I love that because, in our own life, we run into so many obstacles. And if we just, for every obstacle come to our way, if we know how to turn it into opportunity, and, I think that we're not paralyzed by obstacles or the brick wall that we hit along the way when we go on our journey.
Yes, I think it's a wonderful example of we have setbacks. We encounter adversity or chaos or problems or challenges, and but we can turn every setback into a comeback. But we have to do it. We have to do it upstairs. We have to have our mindset in the right place and make sure we're taking steps to really move in the right direction. And if we're not, that setback is going to remain a setback, and we'll have a chip on our shoulder. And, life is too short to live that way. We need to live in a more positive manner to be successful.
I love it when you said setback and the comeback. It sounds very preparation, just like when we prepare, just like we get the hit and pluck, and we chap. I like I love it. Okay, so now the first chapter is running on empty.
Yes.
So running's on empty, and I know I have mentioned to you a couple of times, Jeremy. I said that I don't know why Craig portray himself as a kind of SOB, because he is running on empty or desperate, and he become a very I want to say an ugly man, because he just to behave that unacceptable. And as you know, when you go on, you know that he is a very, very decent man. But through the valley that he went through, that make me him become somebody is unrecognizable.
Yes, I think part of that is to set the stage for the story. And we all have bad days, and sometimes those bad days, the adversity and setbacks, they sort of stack up, and a bad day becomes worse, and then something else happens, and something else happens, and so that's kind of how the book begins. It just one thing goes wrong after another, and suddenly you have all these things that you think that you possess, and suddenly you don't have them anymore. And that brings up a central theme that I think a lot of us struggle with. Is change, shifting our perspective from just kind of a defeated attitude to more of a undefeated mentality, where you're not going to let anything knock you down. You might fall down, but if you fall down, you're going to get back up.
Yeah, I think that the idea of for this book and for us to, Jeremy, we resonate with each other because we understood the lesson and the power of get up. When you fall
Right.
down, you learn how to get up.
Right.
And I remember you did mention one Japanese quote. Can you might repeat that?
What did you say again? I'm sorry.
You're talking about when I talking about we learn how to every time we fall down, we learn to get up.
Oh, the Japanese proverb. Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I think it goes like this: fall down 7 times, stand up 8. Or it might be rise up 8. I've heard different descriptions of it. But the point is, every time you fall, you have the capacity to get back up again. And if you fall off your horse, you get back on the horse and try to ride. And if you have to ride slower to get back on track, that's fine. It happens to all of us, though. We all have those moments where things go wrong, and it comes down to how we react to those moments. Do we react with an opportunistic, positive bent, or do we say, "Oh, that's it, I give up"? I think a lot of times we just say, I give up. I can't do this. It's impossible.
The idea is just try one more time.
Right.
Yeah. So now with Craig, and I was really when I first my initial reaction to his behavior, and I just say he is so self-centered. And
Yes.
he just look at the problem is just like so close, and everything is magnified because the view that he see, he didn't see the whole picture. He just to him that he just see something in front of him, and that something is continue to defeat him over and over, to the relationship with his girlfriend, to the job, and to the frustration with his own brother.
Yes, and we all have. I think a lot of it comes down to we can react to things, without thinking about it, or we can act and really detach ourselves from, okay, what's the bigger picture of meaning of this? And I think the first chapter is remarkable because it just seemed like everything that went wrong, Greg reacts to it instead of really processing what it means and trying to put all the pieces of the puzzle together and realizing that things change. I mean, not very, very few things are going to stay the same in our lives. And that's a difficult realization for a lot of us, I think.
Yeah, to me, character mean a lot. But then when, the scene that he, when I read it, that when he was in the cab, that he happened to have Jonathan, the coach, and then he just like he was a little bit upset when he found that he's not on Jack jacket, but he started to feel the material, and he checked the label, and he said, "Wow, this one is a much better quality than his." And then and then his reaction that just bugged me. It just like he not even make attempt to return it, and he also so glad that somebody else get the bad rap.
Yeah, it's the polite thing would be to return the jacket. Obviously, if you have somebody else's property, I mean that's how most of us would do that. But how he chose to process that, I mean, the book talks about Greg smelling opportunity and not, that doesn't necessarily have positive connotations. I mean, smelling opportunity is, maybe a little more selfish than I think we should be in that kind of situation. What do you think?
I truly am thinking that excellent words of choice, because that just tell us, Craig, I know that I will have you on the show soon, but I mean, just the way you portray yourself, you're such a rat. I mean, when you smell the opportunity, that make me feel like, huh? I mean, that is, anybody with the decency in them, I don't think that they behave that way.
True. Yeah. We all have moments where we are too selfish, and sometimes it takes someone else telling us that, or life kind of taps us on the shoulder and says, "Whoa, wait a minute, you have people here that really need your help, and you need to be more selfless and more of a servant and less of a selfish. I'm in my own little silo and tunnel vision, and I'm not going to venture out of that because it's not in my self-interest to do so. Why would I do anything to help anyone?" Yeah, we have moments, unfortunately, where we all seem to fall into that. We want our needs met, and we're not worried about really serving the needs of people that have much greater needs than we do.
I think that, I read a lot of things, and they said not about you. But again, remember, you cannot continue to give from a empty vessel. So,
True.
Yeah, and I think that to him at that moment, and when I read the chapter 1 talking about when he in the cab, he is just in a very rock bottom. No, he had not hit the rock bottom yet, but he's so desperately
right,
because he has a certain image to make that he wants to be something else. But then when he go back to his apartment, then the girlfriend left him, and she not just left him, but to take everything with him. Then
of course,
point that
why not?
He hit the rock bottom.
But so. she left his favorite chair and table and a picture of of them in the Bahamas, but saying, "Here's how lonely it was. You were there, but you weren't really there with me. You were not really present, although you were physically present." So, just interesting.
It's interesting. And she said that, I hope that you will find somebody love you as much as you love yourself.
Yeah.
It's just like classic to me, and
right.
I love it.
That's a zinger. She really got him there.
Okay, so now tell me about, what do you think about the first chapter, the title of Running on Empty?
Well, this has special meaning to me. As a runner, I think we frequently try to run in certain ways and aren't really mindful of running efficiently or doing what's in our best interest. And also, we have to be properly nourished. We have to nourish our mind, our body, and our spirit. And if any of that nourishment is lacking, something's going to fall apart. Or a failure is going to occur. In running, we call it hitting the wall. So that has kind of a special meaning to me. I know for some people, Running on Empty is just a popular song that was recorded recently. But I think we all have moments where we feel like something is missing, like something important is missing. And if we can determine what that important missing thing is and put it back in place, things change dramatically and improve. And it's a completely different style of not only running, but running through life. I mean, I believe we're running through life in a meaningful way. We may be walking some of the time, and that's fine. But the point is, we need to nourish our bodies, minds, and spirits in a meaningful way with positivity and things like that. And if we're not doing that, we're going to start to doubt ourselves, and doubt and fear will take over, and then bad things happen.
You know, I know that, again, we're talking about this, any obstacle, we're looking for solutions. So what is the solutions for running empty in your situations, as you know that you are a health coach, and now you talk about running a lot. And so what exactly the solutions? And, you know, I mean, for immediate, what is the remedy for that? Because I think that we need to get something in over this hump in order for us to go to a next station.
Sure. You know, it's interesting. I think sometimes it takes failure to help us identify how to succeed. And I know that sounds counterintuitive and all that, but let me tell you a story. I run marathons, and I've run 15 of them, but one of them didn't end well. And one of them, I ran 21 miles, and my body was completely out of fuel. I had nothing left. I didn't do the mental preparation. I took this race for granted. And so with no fuel left, and no, not a strong enough spirit to continue, I couldn't digest food or liquids anymore. I gave up, and I realized in running, you can't take anything for granted. You can't take any race for granted, any run that you have. Things can go wrong. And that was very difficult for me to accept, because I've never had a did not finish in any race that I've run. And this one, I had to take one because physically and mentally, I wasn't prepared. But I learned a great deal from that I had to make the mental preparation a huge part of my running, and that I also needed to make sure that I was properly fueled, and that I was testing, the liquids and food that I would use in a race. I was testing that during practice. You can't succeed with, trying new stuff and hoping it's going to work and hoping your body's going to digest it. And finally, I just learned to accept that, things went wrong. I have to, as Zig Ziglar would put it, I have to forget it and drive on, the Fido approach to life.
So at one time you did quit a race?
I did, yes. And I had to, meanwhile.
How you feel?
Well, I felt terrible. I was angry, upset, and you can't get that bad taste out of your mouth without having a great race performance in a race of that length. So, it took a full marathon that went okay or well to be able to shake that off. But it was very challenging. I felt like, why do I want to continue to do this if this is what's going to happen? I started to doubt my own ability.
And you tossed in the towel, and then you call it quit?
Threw in the towel, got in what they call the sag wagon, and they drove me back to the Memorial Stadium. And meanwhile, my wife finished her half marathon, and so she's saying, "What happened? I was waiting for you." And, nothing. I tried to text her, and her phone was in my car, and I had the keys, and she didn't. So, our communication wasn't working very well. But she succeeded that day, and I failed. But I learned from that failure how to return to the path to success.
Wow, that is very, very important. Because there's sometimes that we have a moment that, beyond our control. And then for some reason, just like you just mentioned, you quit, but you get back in the race. And now you are a runner coach, and you work with your clients, and you want to make sure that they do not quit 3 feet away from their goal,
right?
Or the goal, for that matter.
True. Yes, and with football, we have the analogy of it's fourth down and 1 yard to go, and what do coaches do? Well, they elect a punt. And sometimes if they go for it, if they go for that first down conversion, in a lot of cases, they're going to be successful and win the game because they had the guts and courage to do it.
Jeremy, we have 3 minutes before we can take any questions. So, do you talking about something about the next episode and something that you want to take a recap and to just for our viewer to take away with?
Sure. Yes. The next episode, we're going to cover 2 chapters. We're going to cover Awakening, which is chapter 2, and Planting the Seeds is chapter 3. We're going to cover them together, and I will drop the link in here shortly. I think, this is an interesting chapter because it really reminds us that we all have adversity. And we have to deal with adversity and chaos in a positive way, or they're going to weigh us down. And that chaos and adversity kind of becomes the 800-pound gorilla that we can't shake off.
Yeah.
And if we can't do that, we just walk around like we have a victim mentality and a chip on our shoulder. And, if people say negative things to us, instead of ignoring them, we want to punch them back. And we really have to. We can't live like that. That's not a productive. I love debates, but we don't have to attend every battle that we're invited to.
Of course not.
We get invitations and it's tempting, I know, but we have to let some things go. And actually doing that, it allows some of that adversity to clear, and it allows the clarity to return that I think Greg is really lacking in this chapter. And hopefully in his journey forward, he'll be able to find some clarity in the future chapters.
Yeah, for me, this chapter is the idea that do not quit, committed to your goal, to your dream. Because, like you mentioned, that we run into other obstacles and, the beauty of it and the people who are successful because they stay on the course and they asking themselves a right question for them to seeking for the right solutions. So the idea is do not quit 3 feet from gold. So that is the first chapter, Running on Empty. And thank you so very much for being here. And we so appreciate that you are here. We know that your time is very important. Money you spend, you can get it back, but the time that you spend, you no longer get it back. So therefore, we appreciate and we honor your presence because what you give it to us is valuable more than anything anybody ever give it to us. That's your time and your attention. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you joining us. Please join us next week. I'm dropping the link into the chat here so you can subscribe. And the way we're going to operate these shows, we're going to do half an hour of discussion about the book, and then we're going to do a half an hour of question and answer after the show for people that might be interested in that. So stick around if you'd like to join us for that. And again, thank you very much. We're excited to have you here with us. I know we all have many demands in our time, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we just turn the title.
Let's see. Before we do that, I want to drop the link to the to the next show, and then we can go off the record here. Hold on. Oh, there's a mistake in there. There we go. Okay. there's the link. Please feel free to subscribe to the second show. Will be next Wednesday, same time, same place. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Can I pause the recording now?
Yes.
Okay.